Welcome to another installment of Noob Friendly Guides. This week we're going to be looking at the newest agent on the block, Neon. Neon is a Filipina duelist who utilizes her incredible speed and electrically based Util to gain access to areas, create space for the rest of the team, and to give her the edge in duels. Being less than a week old, there is still a lot to come from Neon and the rest of the community as far as her util goes. However, these guides are created to help noobs and lower elo players learn the basics of agents and then to go from there. And so whilst she is a new agent, her playstyle and application to real world matches is still quite simple to break down and to get the ball rolling for anyone looking to try her out. So let's get started. Firstly, we're going to look at Neon's util or utilities. The first piece of util in Neon's locker is Fast Lane, which is C by default. If you're familiar with Phoenix, then this wall is practically the same as his, however there's one small difference that makes her wall even better. You're covered on both sides. This wall is great, especially when used in tandem with another piece of her util called High Gear, and will get you from A to B with great coverage in a short amount of time. Much like Phoenix's wall, not only does it give you cover, but it also deals a low amount of damage to anyone, teammates included, who happen to pass through it. There will be more tips to fast lane throughout the video. Next, we have Relay Bolt, which is Q by default. Now this, in my opinion, is a highly overlooked part of Neon's abilities, and has been sort of ignored in comparison to things like High Gear and her ultimate, but I honestly believe this to be one of the more useful pieces of util that she actually has. What Relay Bolt does is act like a sort of concussion grenade, causing an effect somewhat similar to Sky's dog. How it works is, you press Q to shoot the bolt either at an opponent or at an area you're trying to stun or clear, and the first surface that the bolt hits gets electrified, as well as the second surface. Once electrified, anyone in either of these two locations will be concussed for 3 seconds. So basically, it shoots with the same trajectory as a Yoru flash, and it has the same effect as a Sky Dog, and it hits 2 surfaces. That's a pretty useful piece of kit if you ask me. Next, we have High Gear, which is E by default. Now this one took me a second to understand, as I started playing Neon without really reading her util guide properly, but here's how it works. Neon has an energy bar when E is pressed that causes her to be able to run super fast, roughly as fast as Yoru runs in his ultimate. You have until the energy bar runs out to sprint around as much as you like. This is especially useful pre-round, as you can run around setting up as much as you like without it draining that energy bar. Now this piece of util also includes a slide feature that is defaulted to the right mouse click. Initially I thought this felt really awkward, as all slides that I've ever experienced in games have been defaulted to shift or control. However, I recommend keeping it set to right click, as if you try to set it to shift or control every time you hit one of those keys, you're going to likely activate something else instead. You get used to it very quickly, so don't stress too much about rebinding this key at all. A quick note, you can only slide 1 time once the round starts. However, every 2 kills you do gain another slide, somewhat like Raze getting another grenade for every 2 kills. Also, the energy bar recharges when not in use, taking 60 seconds to go from 0 back to 100, and you receive 25 energy for every kill that you get. Lastly, we have Neon's ulti, called Overdrive, which is X by default. Now this thing is like something straight out of a Sith Lord Star Wars battle, and is one of the most unique pieces of util that exists in the entirety of the game. Overdrive requires 7 orbs, which as we know get charged up by getting kills, bomb plants, diffusers, or by simply collecting orbs around the map. What Overdrive gives you is a goddamn motherfucking electrical bolt out of your fingers that hits at a damage between 22 and 10 HP, but can absolutely mow down players, as when in this state, you also get Neon's High Gear speed by default. It is worth noting that Overdrive lasts for about 20 seconds, and like High Gear, recharges 25 energy for every kill. So it's not that long of a time, and in my opinion is worth holding on to until you know that there are multiple enemies, as you will be able to kill a lot of people in a very short amount of time whilst flying around the site. When used in conjunction with Relay Bolt and Fast Lane and her slide ability, you have one of the most OP or overpowered pieces of util in the game. However, this happens so infrequently that it's not worth getting too upset about if you're on the receiving end. It's no more OP than, say, Reyna's ultimate, and still has to be used in a skillful manner to get the most out of it. Now we'll quickly go through Neon's role in the team and a few tips on how to use her util to help not only yourself get kills, but to help your team win rounds. Neon is a duelist, so she's expected to use her util to get kills or frags, as well as gaining access to sites, creating space for her teammates to follow her and to support. Much like my previous video on Reyna, which I will be placing in the top right section of this screen if you would like to watch, you are expected at the minimum to be getting kills or entering site. If you're doing both of these things, then you're doing your role perfectly. If you're doing only one of these two things, you're doing your role well. If you're doing neither of those two things, then you're simply not playing your role and will need to reevaluate your playstyle and maybe find another agent that better suits your skill set. Let's move on to some ways that Neon can enter site. How I've been successfully gaining access since I started insta-locking her in order to make this video for you all is by using a combination of Fast Lane, High Gear, and Relay Bolt. What I have been doing is communicating to my team before the round starts where I will be going and what part of the site I will be clearing, which gives them information as to what won't be covered, as well as whether they want to follow me through my wall in order to get somewhere and plant the bomb quickly to catch the enemy team off guard. An example is here on the new and improved map, whose updates I love by the way, Breeze. Typically on Breeze A site, you'll have one person sitting behind one of the pyramids watching the cave area, as well as one person in front of the other pyramid on the door side. What I will do is throw my wall up at this sort of angle, then sprint through the middle, and before I exit, I will bounce my concuss off the floor or a wall to clear both sides, so that when the wall drops, or you choose to exit, you have the advantage on anyone stuck in those spots. You can also bounce one of your bolts at the very start of the wall if you have people following you in trying to clear the very front of site, though the chances are you'll have somebody who can simply flash that spot before they exit the safety of the wall itself. Another example is here on ASCENT B site. It's pretty much the same sort of setup, but like I said, it's extremely useful at gaining access for you and a number of your teammates. What I do is, once at the opening of the site, I put my wall up at this sort of angle so as not to be seen by anyone in the market area or the spawn side area, then simply bolting the alley or the stairs before beginning to enter the site itself. Usually there'll be one person on the site, so it might be worth holding onto one of your bolts to try and concuss anybody hiding in boat or on the site for some additional safety. These two plays are very similar. They are very simple, but they are very effective and can be easily applied to most maps, so have a play around with it and see what sort of entries you can get. A quick note about Neon's wall. It remains perfectly perpendicular the entire time. What this means is, if you accidentally use the wall and one side of the wall has nowhere further to go, then both sides of the wall will stop at that same point. However, the wall can go through some thinner walls as long as one side of the wall has a clear path and the other side of the wall has somewhere to go. This seems a little bit buggy and is really hit and miss, so have a play around with it, but definitely don't rely on this method at all. So what are my final thoughts on Neon? I think she is an incredible option for people who have good aim, good game mechanics, and good speed. Pretty much every duelist. If you have previously mained agents like Jet or even Yoru, then I think she's absolutely worth trying out. She is insanely fun, her util is unique and doesn't take a lot of time to learn, and I can see her being used a lot on larger maps like Breeze, Fracture, and even Ascent or Bind, due to her speed and her walls. She is well worth trying out even if you're not a duelist, mainly because I always recommend people to try new agents because you never know who will suit your playstyle until you try them, and Neon might just be the one that takes your game to that next level. Thanks for watching guys. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you could give me a big thumbs up, drop a comment, subscribe, or even come and check me out live on Twitch, where you'll be able to ask me questions in real time, as well as see some amazing and hilarious content. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.